Welcome agents. What is happening over at Massive? State of the game today has been officially postponed. Now this was tweeted out earlier today, and as you can see it says, today's State of the Game stream has been unfortunately postponed. We will be back next week with the news about upcoming changes. Now what's going on over there is the question that I have today. Now I'm trying my best to be as constructive as possible, with every video that I make and every bit of feedback that I've given over the last, since the game launched effectively. But this news actually really triggered me, and that doesn't happen. I rarely get triggered by anything, and it's for a few reasons. Now firstly, the last state of the game was at the end of July, so like all of you, I've been waiting to find out what the devs are planning for Title Update 6. I've got no special treatment. I'm in the same boat as all of you guys. I've just been waiting, and I was hoping to cover today's State of the Game. 5 weeks have actually passed, and yet for some reason the stream has been postponed. And it wasn't postponed yesterday, it was actually postponed today, 4 hours before it was due to go live. In fact, the devs actually tweeted out recently that it, I think it was yesterday, that it would be going live today. So something must have happened today. Now, I'm not naive to the fact that external circumstances could be the reason for this, and it probably is that. But this, of course, hasn't been communicated out to the community at this point, and that brings me on to my second point. Why can't the devs confirm why it has been postponed? Why in this situation is very important. It just looks really poor to the consumer, i.e. us, when you postpone a stream like this after 5 weeks away, but even worse when you can't or won't say why. And I think in this situation, it's more of a case that they won't say why. Now, we don't know yet if anything will follow this, like some sort of brief statement on the Ubisoft website, or maybe a statement about what we can actually expect next week, but I actually just don't think it really matters at this point anyway. Now, when I don't agree with something with this game, I give the devs a little bit of a hard time, and I make these videos because and the only reason I do is because I actually really care about this. If I didn't care about this game, I simply wouldn't make a video like this. Now, some people have suggested it probably has something to do with the ETF, but this has been planned. They knew this was happening. In fact, the stream was tweeted out, I think, yesterday about state of the game, and that was 24 hours ago. And the last time any of the devs actually streamed the game itself was only 2 weeks ago, and at this point, it just feels like nothing is happening. Now, I know stuff is happening, but the communication with the community is really bad, and this is another good example of that bad communication. And what I find frustrating is almost every day, we get tweets, from the Division 2 account of cosplay and artwork, which, don't get me wrong, it's really cool, and I like seeing that stuff. But if you took all of that cumulative time and invested it into one stream where you answer the community's questions or you discuss what we can expect to see over the coming weeks, this would have a lot more benefit to the future of this franchise. Cosplay and artwork and stuff doesn't do a whole lot for bringing people back or keep people playing. It's just summer extra. What is important is that people know what's coming, and that's being communicated back to them. Now, I've always been taught that telling someone you have no updates or you have nothing to say is better than saying nothing at all. And whilst I think the community would kick off, even in that scenario, if you can imagine if they came on State of the Game today and went, look, just quickly just want to say that we've got nothing to add, we're sorry, we'll answer some of your questions, and that's it. Even if that were to happen, and again, the community would absolutely kick off in that scenario, I would at least respect the devs for doing that, rather than just, going silent. Plus, there is absolutely no way the devs have no updates. The ETF is there, it's in full swing. I think the ETF properly started yesterday, so they absolutely have stuff that they want to talk about, and that's what's baffling to me about this. Also, is the issue so bad that they have to postpone this, stream for a whole week? I mean, could it not be possible to postpone it for like 1 day? The problem is, I have all of these questions, as I'm sure you guys do, because their statement about the stream being postponed contains zero information as to why. And there isn't really anything further that I need to add here. I'm frustrated, and I didn't want to make a negative video today. That was never my intention. I finished work early, as I always do on a Wednesday, in preparation for State of the Game today, and some positive news, but, that hasn't happened. Instead, I'm making a negative video, and the devs are getting slammed on Twitter and on the forums for this, and the last thing this game needs is bad publicity. But the devs have to realise, and I don't know if they ever will, that communication is the most important thing. I've reached out to Chris Gansler, community developer at Massive, and asked if he has any news on why State of the Game has been postponed, so maybe he'll respond with an answer, but I highly doubt it. if the developers do realise or do release, some sort of statement or whatever, then of course I'm going to cover that here. So make sure you've got your notifications turned on. Anyway, guys, what do you think? I'd like to leave your comments down below as usual. This is my rant over, and I'm now optimistic that with State of the Game next week, we're going to get some serious answers to the questions we've all been asking, like, how are you going to reduce the RNG? How are you going to reward time invested? How are you going to fix PvP? What new game modes are coming to PvP? How are mods going to be changed? Are we going to get some solid recal changes? Is the material cap going to be increased? Is Cassie Mendoza going to start selling exotics like she was supposed to in episode 1? Why were expeditions temporary? What are the brand variations being removed? How are you going to make crafting more viable? Are you going to reduce recal and crafting cost? Are we getting more loadouts? Is the Eagle Bearer getting nerfed? The list goes on, as you guys know, and I can't imagine the developers are gonna have enough time to answer all of these questions. You know what? I think I know why State of the Game has been postponed. The devs likely had a lot of ideas in mind. I mean, why wouldn't they when, there are thousands of forum posts, Twitter messages, YouTube videos telling the devs what needs to be done. The ETF members have come in and the devs have presented the ideas, at which point all the members walked out and they got a taxi, straight back to the hotel. It was then that the devs realised that they had not done their homework and all of the stuff they thought was important to the community and would fix the game was wrong. So they had to postpone State of the Game to ensure no further outrage, and now the ETF members, they're being given food and other little bits and bobs to come back to the studio and school them on what needs to be done to ensure Tile Update 6 is the update we all want. Now look, of course I'm having a laugh with this, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if someone like this were true, where the devs were a little bit out of touch of what people want, and the ETF members have come in and gone, this is all wrong. This is all wrong, and this is what should be done. And now the devs are scrambling, going, well, we can't, we can't do the State of the Game because we got all of this stuff now, and this is actually what the people want. I don't know. Until they release something about it, I just don't know what's going on. Okay, just to interject at the end here, because that was kind of going to be the end of the video, but the devs or Division 2 official profile has just tweeted out again, and they've said this: our community developer Chris Gansler caught the dollar flu and was unable to participate today. We'll be back next week. Stay out of those contaminated areas, Chris. So that's the official reason as to why State of the Game was postponed, because Chris Gansler was not able to be there with Hamish Bode. It's entirely believable. Actually, Chris Gansler told me that he's out of the office. So he did respond to my message asking him, what's going on today, and he said that he's out of the office and he can't give me a reason as to why it's been postponed because of stuff, basically. But this absolutely explains it, and this is the reason he's out of the office, because he's unwell, and that's fine. At the end of the day, it's one of those things. It happens. Cool. This is what people wanted, and it's taken how long? It's taken 5 hours for the devs to confirm why, after 222 messages at the time of me, doing this video, 222 comments for them to come out and say why. They just need to realise this in the first instance. You cannot postpone something as important as this after 5 weeks of hearing nothing without giving a reason why, because people are going to kick off. And now that I know what the reasons are, it's cool. Absolutely cool. I hope Chris gets better. If he's watching this video, I hope he gets better and all that. And I'm looking forward to next week's State of the Game. But let this be a lesson that you can't release a statement like this about postponing something and not give a reason why. Why is the most important thing in this whole situation. Not telling us why something is happening or not happening would give us, that's where the questions come and that's where the doubt comes in. But now that we know why, it's all cool. So yeah, next week's State of the Game, of course, guys, I'm going to have you fully covered with that. So as I said before, just make sure your notifications are turned on. If anything happens, between then and next week's State of the Game, if we have any leaks or whatever, then I've got you covered. That's what I'm here for. So just make sure your notifications are turned on. And that's it, really. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. I'm glad it ended on a more positive note. It obviously started off as a bit of a rant, negative video, and there's going to be people commenting talking about me being negative. But as I said, the only reason I'm negative sometimes, or I give feedback like this, it's simply because I actually really care about this franchise. If I didn't care, I simply wouldn't bother at the end of the day. And I care so much that I think it's important that I give my opinion and likewise give praise when it's needed. You know, if the developers come out next week with state of the game and they go, we're doing this, this and this and that and whatever, and it's everything we ever wanted, then I would 100% be praising them. But if they come back and say we're doing this, that and the other, and we didn't want any of that, then I won't be. And that's important. But anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching today. If you haven't already, drop a like on the video. You know, really does help me out. If you watched all the way to the end, really, really does help me out. You don't realise. And until the next one, guys, epic out.